So the Cincinnati Bengals have put 3 players on the PUP list going into training camp. Of course, you don't know what the PUP list is. It's the physically unable to perform list. Now, right now in training camp, the PUP list isn't really a big deal because you can activate a player off the PUP list at any time, any point before the 53-man roster, and it's all good. Like, you can just say, hey, listen, that guy now is healthy and he can play. Bam, he's back on the roster. Pretty much the PUP list is to sideline any player, stop them from practicing or participating in any team activities to avoid any further injury. It's a player who, like, for example, Collins, who is rehabbing from an ACL, PCL, and MCL tear. Nonetheless, though, once the season does kick off, once the 53-man roster is actually solidified, if a player goes on the PUP list, they have to be out for the first 6 weeks of the season. That's why, again, you know, if you start the season off and the player's on the PUP list, you're not going to have it for 6 weeks, which is actually really detrimental to teams, right? Now, during training camp, the PUP list does count toward the 90-man roster. So, as you know, when you're in training camp, you have a 90-man roster, and then as you go throughout the preseason, you make cuts. So I think the first cut, you go from 90-man to 73-man. Then I think it's down to 60, and then it's down to 53. So right now, this doesn't really matter that much. But once you kick off the season, this will actually matter. So the 3 players they put on the PUP list today is, of course, Cheeto, La'el Collins, and Devin Cochran. Now, Devin Cochran, that's not really too big of a deal. He is a backup tackle, but he's probably a guy that's not going to make the active roster. The other 2 are somewhat of a big deal, but this is not really surprising. Based on what we have heard about Cheeto, he posted on Twitter that he's feeling okay, he's feeling fine, he's feeling himself. But again, he's still rehabbing from his injury. So it's very possible, and based on what we have heard from rumors, he might not go to training camp until the end of training camp. So he might not be actually there until the end of training camp, and that's not really too big of a deal as he is a veteran player, so he does know loose defense. Obviously, yes, you want to train as much as humanly possible in any training camp stance, right? But at the same time, though, when you are a veteran, you kind of, it's almost like a, as you call it, a cakewalk, right? It's kind of like, okay, well, I know what I'm doing here. I know what the system is. I know how to handle it. But you're conditioning yourself to get up to game speed so you can play in the preseason and then, of course, the regular season. Now, a lot of veteran players and a lot of star players don't play in preseason, so it all depends. But nonetheless, though, the second guy is La'el Collins. Now, we are still trying to figure out what's going on with him. I actually messed up my most recent video and talked about how Collins said he could have an ankle brace on and play today. I actually messed up. Someone correct me down below. That's why I love you guys. You guys absolutely keep me, you know, make sure I say stuff right. But he actually has a knee injury. So it's a MCL, PCL, and ACL, which is all in your knee. So in that video, what I should have said is, if he had a brace on his knee, he claims he could play today. And today was 2 months ago. So we're going to see where this all ends up. Based on what experts are saying and doctors are saying, they're saying that they believe he's going to start the season off on the PUP list, which means the first 6 weeks of the season, he will not be active. That's why we talked about today, how, you know, Jonah Williams is going to have to be the savior here, right? To really take over and, you know, kind of fix the situation, right? And obviously Jackson Carman, if he can step up and become the starter, who knows? You know, I'm not going to sit here and say that it has to be Jonah. It could be Jackson Carman too. You know, either or. Whoever wants to play the best and just protect my quarterback, I don't care who you are. Nonetheless, though, another update we got from training camp today was actually Joe Burrow. Yes, Joe Burrow reported to training camp today. That's why we love Joe Burrow, because even though he's going through a contract situation where they're going back and forth, he's still saying tight-lipped about the contract. As he says, he wants to do business. He wants them to do business, and they're doing business together. So he's not blabbering. He's not saying anything. He's not refusing to go to training camp or holding out. He's just doing his job, right? Which, again, is another reason why I love Joe, because he's all about business. He's all about work, the team, winning, right? It's not about him. he never makes anything about him. And that's why you always gotta, honor players like that. Don't get me wrong. Hey, listen, at the end of the day, every player, go get your money, right? Go get paid, right? And you get what you're worth. But I'm not gonna say any names, but there was a divisional quarterback who was crying on social media over the last couple months because they didn't have a contract. So, and refusing to go to training camp and actually show up to training camp, I think like 2 or 3 days late because of everything. Listen, okay, I'm not trying to say anything. Who didn't play a playoff game because they didn't get a contract. Hey, listen, okay? Listen. We're just happy our quarterback is not a crybaby. And a grown man about it. He's professional about it. And I do got to give credit to Justin Herbert, because I believe Herbert did also go to training camp, even though the media tried to slant his words and twist his words. If you guys did not see that video, pretty much the media, they asked him if he was going to go to training camp in, mid of the contract dispute. And what he said, and the media twisted it, because the media took his saying what he said and then twisted it. And he said that, it's his job to be the quarterback for this team. It's his job to go and perform the best he can. And yes, obviously the contract matters and he's worrying about the contract, but that is just a separate issue altogether. His job, number one, is to be a quarterback. They cut all that out and they just put in there that the fact that he said, because they asked him, they said, hey, if you don't get this contract, will you hold out? And he responded something like, yeah, well, he didn't say yes. He said, it's definitely something to think about, right? But he goes, at this moment in time, I'm worried about being a quarterback. Take out that last part. First part, news headline. I'm thinking about it. That's what they did. So again, like I said, I gotta give credit to Justin Herbert too. I don't really talk good about him on the channel too much. But you know what? At least he's going to training camp and, participating with his team. Because at the end of the day, you can't control anything right now as a quarterback. Don't worry about what you can't control. Worry about what you can control, right? You control right now is being the best teammate possible. And also got to keep in mind one last thing is, as Burrow said before, his agent's working on it, right? And this is why a lot of NFL players, their agents are taking care of it. They're kind of just like the middleman. The agent comes up to them and says, hey, listen, do you want this or this or this? And then the quarterback says, I like that. And then the agent says, okay, cool. Here's the proposition for that. And then the guy that signs the contract, right? Kind of what we're seeing with the whole Joey Porter situation with Pittsburgh is that he currently is not signed because his agent wants more money. It's a problem. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.